Hello. This is Bernie. I was thinking about a hockey game and the Hanson brothers. Remember that movie, The Tough Guys? And, anyways, well, maybe I'll just go on. In the warm up, I have seen often, especially in playoffs at times in my life, players will come across the red line in the warm-up as they circle around and do their warm-up skate and bump each other and throw a puck into the other end to disturb the competitor. All these are little pregame tactics to say who's winning and taking the territory ahead of the game, right? And what matters in the end is the cup, right? And so, you're looking at two things that drive human beings. And no matter what you say or what you are or what words you use, and I've heard different scenarios all through my life, even from guys like Tony Robbins and whoever, all the things that motivate people or the need for connection and all that. But it basically comes down to two things. Prestige, number one, and that involves power, money, accolades, recognition, all kinds of stuff, trade, bartering, money, commercial, all that. The other thing is, so that's prestige. Peace is the other one. That's your liberty, your comfort, your safety, your freedom, all of it. So those are the two things that drive people under God. If it's not under God, it really doesn't matter, does it? All of us are under God. And that's the great saying in the Steven Seagal movie. The cops and the gangsters, they're all under God, out for justice. So, what's driving you to win that cup? Well, your human prestige. You want the prestige of it. But you're really motivating another need too, all the time. You're going home to your family. Everybody wants that peace, that comfort. And this is why, we're salespeople. We want to accomplish our task or our goal or anything in work is because these two needs are driving us, right? All the time. And so you get the cup at the end of the series. You win the cup, perhaps. I mean, people often don't remember the team that lost, but they often remember for a while the team that won. And you can go down through all the, annals of history or the data or the records, and you can figure out who won if you forgot. But, everybody wants that. Everybody wants that in their life. Well, it looks different for different people too, right? What the win actually is. But today what we want to talk about is our topic on the sales theme is the new sales stream. And I'm going to be talking to you about three different things and this week in these videos. And, the first thing is your information and your intel. And, how do you get there? Well, first of all, if you're not ready to accommodate that idea, that prestige, and your purpose, overlying purpose of having peace in your life and comfort and all that are your two main motivators, I mean, you might have a different ritual. I want you to take a minute and I want you to just look into yourself. You can even shut the camera off for a second. Go take a minute and sit in a quiet part of your room and think about this. What would your ideal sales day look like? And I don't mean in the winning of the accomplishment of it. I mean as you're going in to make the deal and start the process of meeting a customer for the first time. What does that look like to you? The ideal, perfect world. Now, and then when you have that image in your mind, kind of maybe think about it, set it aside. You might want to write it down, whatever, that's up to you. But then take another minute and think about what's your worst case scenario. You can't even dream or imagine that would happen if you went into a customer. You've maybe never been there before. It's the first time you're going to talk about what's happening and what's going on and why you're there as a business person, you know, what it is that you do, your company, and think about that and write it down. That's your worst case scenario. Okay, now get go here. We're going to turn the camera back on when you've got those two images in your mind, and you're going to come forward and you're going to say most days go somewhere in the middle, and they're not ideal. And lots of people play to the ideal all the time. They have these strong ideals, and that's not wisdom in trying to apply those in a perfect world. No, an imperfect world, right? So what's your bottom line? You always got to know your comfort zone is where your ideals are, but your bottom line is something else, because over here in your worst case scenario, that's the nightmare on Elm Street, so to speak, of your sales juncture. Or you can even take your personal life into this, but we're talking about your total sales business scene right now. And the problem is those two worlds collide. They meet in a very drastic way. So you got to know what your bottom line is, because you're not going to play to the worst case scenario. You will lose. You will not win anything. What's your bottom line? We give you the notion always that we can create double. That's the track record I've personally created. And for top achievers in your company, as Connections Consulting, we can induce that into people who have that same excelling power. But the reality is probably 14% of your people create 86% of your results. And the other 86% of your people create 14% of your results. And that's just the laws of gravity, or whatever you want to call them, Hoyle, in the selling, sales, business world. So you are not forgetting about your other 86% of your people. They're important. They work every day and they do something, and the function they provide keeps you in an economy. Those top achievers are out producing huge revenue, but you need everybody. Everybody's part of the scene, part of your equation. So we know what our bottom line is. We will induce a 23% gain across the board with everybody, and we have a guarantee on that. So that's, we always know our bottom line when we come in, and you got to know that as a salesperson. Now, what I'm talking about today is in this world we live in, it's different now because of social media and all that, right? We're in a different world. And I've done some very hard things in my life. And, you want an achiever that can do hard things, but you want the person that's not an insult either, that can be there every day and show up and mop the floor. They give you good credit, and they help others get in line to do things. And those people are there, and there's good credit. All win together in a organization. And, there's a strange world out there where people sit in their ideals, and this is where I got to the bottom of the boat to find those people, because some of them are good excellers, but what they've done is they've led other people astray. And I've sometimes given the institution of the Christian world and the church formality, the church, the institution, the building, I've given them some, feedback once in a while. Have you ever heard the story of Jonah in the whale? And the one guy got into the bottom of the boat and he got thrown out. He was on his way in the wrong direction. He was running from his total purpose, and he ended up in a whale. A whale swallowed him up, and then he was in there for a while, and then he got spit out on shore. Well, I went into the Christian world of the institutional church through time, and this is just information, and I've given those people credit, but I've also said there's issues, and you got to look in your own mirror and see the harm sometimes. And there's a leader I went after, I can think of in particular. Let's call him Dave or John, of a small group session. And he's inside the whale in comfort, having a fire, and thinking he's in total peace. And there's no prestige in that. All his people around him are skeletons. They've all died. And I even went out the back end of the whale to find other people that the whale might have shit out. But there was only a skeleton back there and some seaweed. So I came back in, and this is an analogy of the Jonah story. It's 3 chapters. You can read it in the ancient Bible. And the reason I'm telling you this is that man is supposed to come out of that whale and get on with the purpose he's supposed to be doing. And I've went to find those people because everybody has value. The problem with that story is that guy got out and did what he was supposed to finally after retorting and fighting it all the way. And then when it finally was accomplished, he was still so mad that he didn't want to do it and nobody took him the right way, that he just didn't even want to live anymore and get on with the real purpose of life, the peace and the prestige, I suppose. So what I want to tell you today, I want to give you both. There's both, because if you can have both, that's the matter at hand under our Lord. And that's really the good life that you want to accomplish. So in this world, the last 10 years have been very different than traditional selling. Anybody that's over the age of 40 would know there was a different way taught prior to the last 10 years of reality we have experienced in social media world. And you can't go into a world that's different than the ways you were taught without becoming very idealistic in the view of, well, whoever, not maybe yourself, maybe the people you're supposing it to, but it doesn't work because the ritual you go around will be very different. It'll be drastic, and then it all comes down to price cutting because nobody can negotiate a good deal anymore. So what we have taught and are teaching as we're stepping out, our own client Hitachi, who we've been in talks with for several months, finalizing now, we always come back to the drawing board. Well, Bernie, we sell TVs, and that's the goal. So you want to stay focused. Now they're into other things like environmental science and water refinement, and there's a bigger picture in their total encompassing portfolio, but it's the TV business. Commodities don't have a big fair price anymore. People diversify into things, right? It's commercial trade. We're looking at this world changing. Russia, there's a good example. Russia, the big cold bear state, is now an emerging country. It's apparently in the top 5, if you're looking at what market analysts are saying, the top 5 of potential places to invest in equities and holds for the future if you want an emerging country that has formal institutions established, just like Mexico, another one, and your money will get some good credit perhaps in the days ahead in the economies we're in this world, the way it's heading. So what we want to talk about in all that is the good sense of not investing your money, but in your own company. What are you doing and what are you trying to accomplish? Because if you can't have the goal of prestige and peace in the middle of it all, under God, I suppose, right? That's your accomplishment. Knowing your bottom, you're not going below your bottom. And that's the bottom. Like, what are you going to do, right? So this is what we're up to. Now, how do you do that in a social media world? You got to go in, you got to have 2 facts in place. People know you already. Your social media is who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. You and it are one. So however you represent yourself, I'm sitting here with a sweater and a toque on. That's part of who I am. I'm a Canadian. We wear, this is the old block heater, right? This is who we are. We stay warm up here, right? Very hardy people. Now, spies could be among us from Germany and other places, whatever. At one time, Germany tried to take over the world, not for the sake of being a good leader country, but because they thought they were supreme back in that mid-1900s. Well, that's not a good way to go either, right? There's a difference between being a leader and someone who thinks they're supreme and better than others in a person. So we don't ever want this in a sales country or business. So our protocol number 1 is assume people know you very well when you go in. So the old way was at the forefront, you give them all this information to get some credibility in the gain in the conversation when you're in talking to them. You don't need to do that anymore. You need to get right down to business. This is the information intel stage. You are mainly there to collect facts about their company, to know what they want and what they're doing, what from you, what you can do. Because you already, if you've done your research, and you must apologize if you've missed anything. Sorry, I didn't see that in your social media or your website. Or is that something you've already posted? You don't want to be apologizing unless you really have to. You want to go in, you're not, faking it. But if you've missed something, you need to make sure you know what it is you're looking at and get down to the brass tacks. So they know who you are, you're there, and it's really about your bottom line. This is the world we're in. The last 10 years have collectively formalized that now into a process. How do you say the most you can in the fewest words? What's your bottom line? 23% gain Connections Consulting will give you in productivity and sales gain, in all of it, in your revenue formula, anything that you've been doing and tracking for the last 10 years, I suppose, we will benefit you that way and give you that gain as you're part of our organization in the selling front. Okay, so you know that. Now they're looking at you, so you need to get your intel and know when you walk away from that first meeting, and you obviously know about them too, what it is you're up against and what it is you're going to do when you leave. And that's really all number one in the new sales stream that you got to know. Now, let's come back here in a minute with part 2 of this 3-part video, and we'll tell you more.